Welcome to the 5 a.m. podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with thought leaders and influencers who are making headways and some waves in their industries. Today, we are thrilled to have with us a renowned researcher, author, and lecturer in the field of UFO, now UAP studies, and biblical prophecy. Our guest has been at the forefront of UFO research for decades, bringing a unique perspective that bridges ancient texts, modern sightings, and spiritual interpretations. He's the author of numerous books, including the Nephilim trilogy and a favorite series of mine, On the Trip. They delve into the mysterious world of UFOs, UAPs now, ancient civilizations, and their potential connections to biblical accounts. Known for his thought-provoking theories on the Nephilim, the Anunnaki, and their possible relation to current UFO, UAP phenomena, L.A.Marzulli challenges us to look beyond conventional explanation. His work often explores the intriguing intersections between extraterrestrial encounters, spiritual realms, and ancient texts like the Book of Genesis. L.A.Marzulli, it is a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to the 5 a.m. podcast.
Well, thank you for having me on, Michael. The honor is all mine, sir.
Oh, well, it's a delight. I do appreciate the amount of research and information that you have. But before that, I've got to ask you, with the fires in Southern California, did that impact you and your family and home this year?
Well, I mean, it's just my wife and I living on our rebuilt home.
Yes.
We were burned out in 2018.
That's right.
We lost absolutely everything.
Yes.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
There was nothing left. We had the clothes on our back, our computers. My daughter, before she fled the scene, got the big computer out, and some of the cameras, but, microphones, monitors, and everything, smoke.
Wow.
So this time, it brings back a lot of PTSD.
I bet it does.
Yeah, we had 14 days of no power.
Wow.
We have a generator, so that generator was we have a hot water thing. We plug that in. I mean, we were living off the generator basically for 14 days, and then the rains came, and then we went skiing. We just went, let's get out of town, and we went to our friends Bob and Ruth.
Nice.
In an undisclosed location deep in the heart of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado.
Good.
And I skied for 5 days, and we came back, and it's hand on the plow again, and
Good.
Yeah, it's all good. We dodged the bullet for sure.
Oh, that's good. I was saying to my wife that this had in fact happened to you like 7 years ago. So to see it again, shocking. There we go. I just lost my ears there for a moment. Now let's get down to business. Some researchers, they're drawing connections between UFO and UAP phenomena and ancient texts. Some leaning towards the Anunnaki from Sumerian mythology. Let's start with your perspective on this theory.
Well, the Anunnaki are just fallen angels. I mean,
right.
The other side of the aisle makes this big deal. Oh, the Anunnaki, and it's written before Moses and the New Testament. And oh my gosh, we stole it from Yes, nonsense. The Anunnaki are just fallen angels. I mean, that's exactly what we're looking at. Yeah. They're doing a breeding program. What was written back then? I mean, some of these guys take it all literal, and they. And they won't look at the biblical narrative. The bottom line is, these are ancient Sumerian texts, and I get that. And there's a great website. Michael Heiser was the author of that website. Sitchin is wrong. Zechariah Sitchin.
Yes.
Sitchin is wrong. And you can go there yourself. And I've been there. You can take a look at what the tablets say and do your own research on the Anunnaki and what's going on here.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, this is what drives me nuts, that people go, well, Moses just stole the whole Genesis 6 narrative from the Anunnaki. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That's why should we believe that? Because you say so?
Yeah.
Moses is writing the Torah from Mount Sinai, and he's thousands of years after all those events, and he's up there for 40 days. I mean, he's, doesn't have a typewriter, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
And he's writing the Torah, and we can either believe that, or we can believe in the nonsense from a dead culture that everything was hidden until the 20th century, which I, of course, tenaciously hold on to the biblical prophetic narrative, because unlike the Anunnaki tablets, the Bible has this thread of prophecy from the beginning, from Genesis all the way through to Revelation. It's the only book on the planet that calls out the end before the beginning before the end, with great specificity.
Wow.
So there you go.
Right. So that I want to just touch on Genesis 6 and the book of Enoch. Do you feel that, because we need to get into this whole mythos and I think historical fact, do you feel that there was a negotiation between the sons of God and the fathers of the daughters of men? Do you think
Absolutely.
that there was a dowry given in the form of technology?
Absolutely. It was a quid pro quo to the book of Enoch. Hey, you can have the babes, just give us the technology.
Right.
And nothing's changed, because some of us who have studied this for years, we know that President Eisenhower goes missing.
Yes.
With this alleged toothache. It's like,
yes.
It's another classic wag the dog story. Oh, the COVID virus has jumped from the bats in the Wuhan wet market.
And the soup dish.
The moment I saw that, I said, oh, here we go again. We're wagging the dog. Meanwhile, the Wuhan lab, the biolab, is only 20 miles away.
Right.
I mean, seriously, folks. And now it's all going to come out.
Hopefully.
That's all I'll say. But it's all going to come out.
That's good.
But yeah, there was a quid pro quo with Ike. And he gave access to the so-called extraterrestrials for the technology. Why does Jesus, Michael, think about this. Why, out of all the places in the Tanakh, the Old Testament, that Jesus could point to, why does he point to the days of Noah and state, right unequivocally, it'll be like the days of Noah when I return? Whoa! When was the last time you heard a sermon about that in church? Well, we will talk about that because we'll freak people out.
Yes. So do you think I actually have on my list to talk about Eisenhower and the let's say the conversation that interrupted some nuclear research perhaps, but I want to go back to the Vril Society and the R&D that took place that I think helped Germany after World War I. Can you weave that thread, just this modern day thread, with some evidence for us?
The Vril is a very interesting pre-World War II and somewhat post-World War II supernatural connection, which they were mediums. I forget the woman's name, really long hair. By the way, she just vanishes
Is that
from
right?
the scene. Oh, she
Is
just
that
vanished.
Madame Blavatsky?
Not Blavatsky. Blavatsky is the mother of a new age automatic
that's
lighting.
Right.
Yeah. This is, I forget her name. She's got really super long hair, almost down to her knees. Really long hair. And she was very much in the Vril. And she just goes missing at the end of World War II.
Exactly.
Never found. Wow. So what the whole, the Vril is the energy. It gets into the whole Antarctica stuff. And the Nazis were really big in Antarctica. I mean, they had a base in New Schwabenland. I believe there was a show on the History Channel a couple of years back called Hunting Hitler.
Yes.
I believe every episode. Those guys did their homework. Yeah. Hitler escaped the bunker. Those bodies were not him and Eva Braun. He escaped the bunker. There was a pilot, an ace woman pilot, that flew him out of Berlin at the last minute because everything's under siege. And she flew to Spain, or she flew to another place in Germany, I think, first, and then got to Spain. How do we know this? Because they uncovered this whole thing. Hitler hops on a U-boat. The U-boat winds up, don't cry for me, Argentina.
Yes.
And the rest is history. Oh, by the way, the U-boat just disappears, and on it goes. And this is why, you can go on YouTube and see there are places that you just don't go to in Argentina. I mean, not without an armed escort, a heavily armed escort, because the remnants of some of those Nazis are still there. I mean, you think of Mengele, who lived out his life. They knew where he was. They could have gotten him, but I mean, the Israelis got Eichmann out of there, and the rest is history there. But, Mengele lived, the angel of death in Auschwitz, lived a ripe old age and finally succumbed, and then they went public with the whole thing. There's lots of Nazis down there, man.
Yes.
And there's one clip where they're burying a fellow compatriot, a fellow Nazi, and at the end they all give the Nazi salute. Well, I mean, I'm not making this up. So it's
it lives on. Do you want to circle? Let's circle back to the U.S. president who had the toothache and was researching nuclear research at the time. The alien greys allegedly came and said, "Stop what you're doing with the nuclear technology." And I think there was an exchange of other technology to be beneficial to mankind.
There's lots and lots of stories like that. Well, not lots, but there's stories that talk about this quid pro quo, these so-called greys sitting down and saying this, that, and the other thing. It's high strangeness, and we don't... let me put it this way. A couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting a 3-star general. And I spent a couple hours with this gentleman. Real smart guy. We'll tell you his name. We'll tell you the branch of force.
Sure.
Branch of, forces.
Sure.
Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, whatever.
Space Force.
So I'm spending time with him, and I asked him a series of questions after we got to know each other a little bit. And he asked me a series of questions, too. I said, "What do you know about Roswell?" "Nothing." "What do you know about the back-engineered craft?" "Nothing." "What do you know about David Grush in Congress coming and telling us that we've got not only craft, we've got the non-human biologics from the craft?" "Well, I saw the same thing you saw." I could go on, but the bottom line is it's a need-to-know basis. And here's a 3-star that has no idea what's going on at S4 or Area 51. He doesn't have a need to know, so he's not told anything. Yeah. This is why you can get, generals and, the brass that come before the American people in Congress in AARO, which used to be ATIP, Advanced Aeronautical Threat Identification Program. Now it's called AARO. Basically the same thing. And this general can be trotted up and say, "We have no evidence of extraterrestrials." He can say that. He's not lying.
Yes.
Absolutely not lying, because he doesn't know. But then you get someone like David Grush or Jake Barber, whistleblowers who come on the record, Admiral Gaudelet, who basically all of them are stating this phenomenon is real. These underwater submersible objects that we see out past our submarines, just blew them away like they were standing still. David Grush talks about the non-human biologics. Commander David Fravor states on the record that this thing shot out like a bullet out of a gun, 50 miles in 2 seconds. Whatever this was not from this earth. That's Commander David Fravor. Luis Elizondo stating on the record that we have metal from the material. There it is right here. Oh, let me get the right one. We have 2 films on Roswell. Yeah. We are the only Christian team that I'm aware of that's ever actually gone to the debris field. We had 2 metal detectors. Yeah. We pulled out 2 pieces of metal. We are the only film crew on the planet who's ever done that. Wow. And I got that from Chuck Zukowski. Nobody else, no other film crew has ever been there where they actually dug the metal out of the ground. We'll show the whole thing. We're in the debris field. My business partner, Gil Zimmerman, and I, we've done 10 films together on the whole UFO phenomena. Chuck Zukowski's there. Jim Peterson's there. Frank Kimbler, Chuck and Frank have metal detectors. Frank goes, "Hey, guys, I got a hit." Cameras are rolling. We go running over there. Whole thing's on film. Digs down with a little thing. Wow. Still in there. Digs down some more. Oh, it's not in there. Now it's in this pile of dirt. Now he's sifting. We show the whole thing. Finally, it's in his hand. And he goes, "Oh, my gosh." And he picks it up and he shows it. And I'm just sitting there like a kid in a candy store. Yeah. I can't even believe this. It is an aluminum alloy, but does not match anything that we know. I have a little piece of the metal in my possession. Thank you, Chuck Zukowski. Okay. And I will be going to SEAL Lab in the too distant future and analyzing that. Wow. This is real research. And what crashed there was not a weather balloon. Absolutely not a weather balloon. It was, and here's something to think about. Yes. 1945, we get Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 47, we get Roswell. Well, why Roswell? Because the 509th Bombing Group is stationed in Roswell. The 509th is the bombing group that dropped the A-bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 48, Israel becomes a nation. The entire UFO phenomenon, as we know it, takes off on the runway, 1948. That's it. We get abductions. We get lots of flybys, more sightings. The flyby over the Capitol building happens in the 50s. We get Ike making some kind of a deal with these entities. We get abductions, crop circles, the breeding program. We first start hearing about this breeding program. Everything launches when Israel becomes a nation. Why? Because that's the end time clock. Wow. And that starts the clock ticking. Gotcha. See, this is why, let's circle back to the very first question. Yeah. When people talk about the Anunnaki doesn't say anything about Israel, anything about the chosen people, anything about the last days, anything about anything. Amos 9, 14, and 15 states this. And it's so apropos. It's so pregnant with where we are now. I will bring back the captives of my people, Israel. Check. It's never happened before. I will bring back the captives of my people. So you could say, well, gee, that happened in where? Babylonian captivity? But listen to the rest of it. I will bring back the captives of my people, Israel. Check. They will build the waste cities and inhabit them. Check. Okay. They will plant vineyards and drink the wine from them. Check. They will also plant gardens and eat the fruit from them. Check. Here's a kicker. I will plant them in their land, and never again will they be plucked up out of the land I've given them, says the Lord your God. So if they get kicked out of a land, God's a liar.
Right.
That's never happened in the history of the world. It's happened in 1948. That is the end time clock, Hal Lindsey. That's who stated it. So,
it gives us a lot of perspective, especially with what's happening right now with the ceasefire and who knows what will happen after that. But,
can I share my screen with you?
Oh, please. Yeah, if you can.
Okay. I'm going to show you something. Okay. So this is where Hamas brings their prisoners in the exchange.
Wow.
He brings them to this goofy little platform, right? Look at the clenched fists. How many fingers do you see?
5. Wow, I never noticed that before. 5.
How many fingers?
Yeah, 5, right?
No, count the fingers.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm seeing 5 and then a thumb.
Yeah, that's 6 fingers.
Yeah, 6, right. Okay, gotcha.
Right? Look at the verbiage right next to it.
Okay.
Where the flood. That is, in my opinion, that is absolutely in your face.
Okay, gotcha. The flood, because the flood destroyed the Nephilim.
Exactly. That is absolutely in your face. They know. And here's something that most Christians don't even know. That Gaza was one of the few places where Joshua and Caleb did not go in. They did not go into Gaza. So there you've got a Nephilim fist.
Wow.
Right? And you look at the banner behind those colors of the 4 horsemen.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. I never even thought of that, too. Those are the colors of the 4 horsemen.
We are the flood.
Wow.
We are the flood.
Wow.
That is so pregnant with meaning. That is so in your face. It's like, 6-fingered left hand.
Yeah.
And just last week, the Israeli archaeology department released that they had found a woman with 6 fingers on her left hand.
Wow.
Who was a shaman.
Is that right? Like she was deceased, so they were unearthing a grave?
From thousands of years ago, yeah.
Wow.
So what you're looking at is they know about the Nephilim. We are the flood.
Yeah.
That's absolutely deliberate. They know.
So
they absolutely know.
I got to ask you then, when do you think the second incursion came, or was there was some talk that there was a cave or something that was found where some could hide during the flood?
Well, what drives me nuts, I was in a discussion with a gentleman today about this. For the life of me, I don't understand why some researchers, well-meaning Christians, brothers, don't understand what the biblical passage in Genesis 6 says. Yeah. So Moses is writing thousands of years after the event. Well, why didn't he just say the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, period? Done, right? Yeah. Completely done. That's not what he says. the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards. And then he tells you what happened when the B'nai Ha-Elohim, the fallen angels, the sons of God, saw the women of earth,
Yes.
human women of earth, and took wives. I mean, it's not rocket science here. And yet, oh no, it's Ham's wife that carries on the Nephilim gene onto the ark. Are you kidding me? You think no one wouldn't know that?
Yeah.
You think Ham's line, I get it, it's corrupt because stuff's happening with Ham's line.
Yeah.
I understand that. It's funky. I totally get it. But there's a second incursion.
Yeah.
Just like now in modernity, there's another incursion. They're coming back. The women are taken. They are abducted. Heck, one of the rungs on the ladder of disclosure.
Oh, good. I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, let me just read it to you real quick.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. That was next on my list. But,
yeah, this is, I believe, hold on. Yeah, one of the rungs on the ladder is alien abduction. And basically, Brett Baer on Fox News is breaking the story. And the headlines, I mean, this is the most conservative person on the planet. I mean, this guy is, he doesn't get ruffled too easily. And he kind of treats it, tongue in cheek, but he breaks the story. And the story is this: some women who were taken aboard UFOs find themselves pregnant. That's my wheelhouse. I fell out of my chair when I saw that, but that's my wheelhouse. Yeah. They are impregnated. Daniel 2:43, let me back it up. Jesus warns us to be like the days of Noah. What differentiates the days of Noah? The presence of the fallen angels having sex with human women, creating a hybrid being known as the Nephilim. That's the reason for the flood. Then you skip to Daniel 2:43. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Then you get to Jesus. It'll be like the days of Noah, pointing back to this. Yeah. So you got Jesus pointing back to the days of Noah. You got Daniel pointing forward to the end times and saying, seal up the words of the book, Dan, until the time of the end. Men and women will endure over the face of the earth. Knowledge will increase. This is where we are. And all of a sudden, Brett Baer is going, women are being taken and they find themselves pregnant. This is our wheelhouse. We published this book by Karen Wilkinson. We published it. Stone Seed Evil Harvest, right here.
I have not seen. I'm going to have to get that one. I haven't seen that
It's an unbelievable book. Karen was taken by them from the time she was like 4 or 5.
Wow.
She was groomed. She was violated. She was raped. She was impregnated by them 3 different times. In the 3rd month of pregnancy, they came back. They took her, and they take the hybrid entity, the hybrid fetus, which is in her, and they have to create an artificial womb. We need to have a film on the cattle mutilations and the abductions. This is in our 10-box DVD set. Shameless plug. Where is it? Here you go.
Yeah.
It's bovine blood, the blood from a cow, can be used interchangeably with a human being
is that right?
in a blood transfusion.
Wow.
It's been approved by the American Medical Association.
Wow. Well, that puts some credibility to the cow mutilation stories. Then
why are they doing it? Well, because they take the tissue and they're creating artificial wombs. So when they re-abduct the woman and they take the hybrid fetus from her, it can't live outside the womb. They put it into a artificial womb, sack. And there you go.
Wow. So I think this is related. I'm going to ask you, because you mentioned this just when we started chatting about the water, and we know there's water spirits, and Jesus casting the legion out of the demoniac. They wanted to go into the swine herd and to be a sacrifice in the water to Zeus. I believe I'm correct with that information. But now fast forward to our day and time on this planet. Whether they were Navy men, airmen, they were saying that things were coming up out of the water. And the book of Revelation actually talks about the beasts coming up out of the water. Do you see a connection there? And if so, can you fill us in a little bit on the details?
Well, what I know is that the trenches, the deep trenches in the ocean are the perfect hiding place to hide UFO bases. And we know, look, I live in the Santa Monica Mountains. When I come down the canyon, the Pacific Coast Highway, I look across the ocean. There's Catalina Island, between where I am and Catalina Island, that's a shipping lane. That's where some of the deepest waters in the United States are.
Really?
We've seen craft. I haven't seen them, but other people have seen the craft go in and out of the water.
Wow.
I mean, all the time.
Really?
It's documented, absolutely documented. So something's going on. And one of our, I think it's the second UFO film in the 10-box set that we have right here. 10-box set. You can stream them, or you can buy all the DVDs. L.A.Marzulli.com. But there's a interview I did with a gentleman who was out on Catalina with a group of people, and they saw this huge, absolutely huge UFO come right over them like that, right over Catalina Island.
Yeah,
it's a hot spot. That's also where I discovered the picture of the 9-foot skeleton that Ralph Gordon had dug up on Catalina Island, or that the whole chain of islands out there, and photographed, and I had that analyzed. That's essentially, it's a 9-footer.
Wow. And so just to give our listeners a little bit of context, Catalina Island is very steep, isn't it?
Well, most of it is, yes. Very mountainous.
So, yeah. Where I'm going with that, ladies and gentlemen, is one thing I remember from sailing and being on the ocean in a vessel, and my uncle Rick would tell me this, that when you look at the land, and if it's steep, it doesn't flatten out under the water. It keeps on going down, and just follow that trajectory. And certainly that's the first thing that sprung to my mind. I remember my wife and I being at Santa Monica. We could see the oil rigs out in the water, and the little tar balls, like little tiny tar balls on the sand. But to think that we just see the surface. And if you follow that trajectory of the topography of those chain of islands that LA is talking about, they just keep on going down on that same trajectory. They don't flatten out into the Great Plains under the water.
No.
So I wanted to ask you some more about your book that you were referencing there, The Great Runs. Can you talk a little bit more about if there's some of those runs that are upcoming, or that we're kind of our foot's on right now?
No, it's in the book. There's 17 rungs on the ladder of disclosure.
Yeah.
All right. And just, I got props all over my desk here, but there it is. There's 17 rungs on the ladder of disclosure. Since then, we've gone 18 and 19. And 18 was General Gallaudet standing before Congress stating that there's underwater submersible objects, we have no idea what they are, that are outpacing our submarines. It's like, hello. It's like, nothing to see here, keep moving. 19 was Jake Barber on News Nation a few weeks ago, stating that he transported these egg-shaped UFOs, and as he was doing this entity came at him. It was female and went into him.
Wow.
And he starts crying on camera because he says, it's the most peaceful, wonderful thing I've ever experienced. Well, where have I heard this before? This is how they lure you in.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story. When I was in the New Age, I was with the Guru's brother. I was in this 56-piece orchestra, and we were living over in Thousand Oaks. It was sort of almost the end of the line for me. I was still meditating, but I had lost a lot of the fervor of believing that this guy was God and that, meditate. I used to get up at 5 a.m. and meditate for an hour, and, I had spirit guides and all sorts of crazy stuff happening. So one day I decide, we're over in Thousand Oaks, which is on the other side of the hill, and I want to go see the ocean because I'm an ocean freak. So I stick out my hand and I hitchhike. This is circa 1974.
Okay.
And I hitchhike over to the Malibu coast. I spend a day on the beach, and now I'm trying to hitchhike back. So this guy picks me up, and you remember I'm 24, and I'm an ex-hippie. I was at Woodstock. I inhaled as deeply as possible, and this guy's got a joint going because we want to hit. And I hadn't smoked in 3 or 4 years since being with the Guru. But by this time, I was, my fervor for the Guru was waning, like a low tide, going way out. So I took a couple of hits of this stuff, and it was really powerful. So I start walking up Encinal Canyon. I can take you to the very spot. I start walking up Encinal to try to get back over to Thousand Oaks, and it's getting dark. So I'm like I'm really high, and I realize I gotta sit down and let this thing ride out. Very powerful stuff. And I go into the chaparral. I find a nice level spot, and I sit down and I'm looking out over the ocean.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and I'm meditating, and the thought comes into my head that, you know, if God is in everything, so you are God, and if you are God, there's nothing to fear, because we're all one. Okay, so I'm not a Christian, obviously, at this time, and all of a sudden, that thought comes in, and if everything is connected, if we're all one, then we're all part of God.
Yeah.
There's nothing to fear. All of a sudden, in front of me, I hear, and then to the right, and then behind me, and then to the left, and it comes closer and closer and closer, and finally, it's like right in front of me.
Wow.
I don't see anything, and it's loud, and I'm sitting in a lotus position like this. Okay. And it pushes me down at a 45-degree angle and holds me there. And when it lets go, I jump up, and I learned this from Carlos Castaneda's another occult book, Conversations with a Yaqui Indian. I should say wacky Indian, but Yaqui Indian. No disrespect to First Nation people. That was a mispronunciation. But Yaqui Indian, Don Juan's way of knowledge. And he was a sorcerer.
Wow.
He was a shaman. And so I took my hand and I pounded it on my thigh, basically saying, no, I don't want this. I sat back down, terrified. And then another thought came in. If I had trusted it, it would have shown me the secrets of the universe.
Wow.
So what happened to Jake Barbara with this entity is similar to what happened to me decades ago. And they want the human soul. They want to come into you, and but I can tell you more stories. But there comes a point where you can't get them out unless you really want them out, and that's where Jesus comes in.
Yeah,
that's where Jesus comes in.
And I will say, just to back up some of what your story, ladies and gentlemen, I've been on some of those hills in that area. My wife and I, when we would be down in Southern California, we'd like to drive in the canyons. And we'd stop and you'd get up on those hills, and the vista looking out to the ocean is magnificent.
Yeah, it is.
It's magnificent. Now, and nighttime, it is black. It is as black can be out there if you're in the right spots. There's no artificial light. So I was in my mind, I was picturing what you were encountering. So then this is off topic, but how did you then become a disciple of Jesus Christ?
Well, I was in the New Age from basically 19 years old to about 13 years old. I mean, I just gobbled up everything I could get my hands on. Eric von Däniken, Ouspensky stuff, teachings of Don Juan, Yaqui way of knowledge, silver mind control. And finally, I was with Guru Maharaji, and my third eye was open, and all this stuff to about 24. Then I left the Guru. I had $25 in my pocket and a bag full of tools, and I made my living as a carpenter and taught myself, the skills of carpentry. And I didn't have a car. I borrowed Kenny's motorcycle and drove around on that. I worked for about 6 months and saved $750 and bought my first truck for $750. And it was a period of time where from 25 to 30, I was an agnostic, and I was starting to read books around 29 years old into 30 about the Lord. Taylor Caldwell, Great Lion of God was a game changer. But someone gave me The Cult Explosion by David Hunt, and I'm reading the book, and I'm going, yep, been there. Oh, I know about that. Yeah, I looked into that. Oh, silver mind control. Yeah, I completed that course. Ding, 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 right down the line. Well, in the back of the book, there's a prayer to accept Jesus. And I said the prayer, and I added to that, and I said, I don't know whether you're real or not, because I'd been deceived all my life. But if you're real, come into my life. And I waited, and nothing happened. And then about a month later, I awakened from a dream, crying, weeping uncontrollably. And then about 2 weeks after that, the Lord said, okay, let's go. And he began to take me out of the kingdom of darkness.
Wow.
And they didn't want to let go. And it was 3 years of very, very intense spiritual warfare. I became celibate. I lived like a monk. I had 2 mentors, my pastor, Pastor Fred, and my mentor, Wayne Kendall, who was 20 years my senior. And they were there 24 hours after, the Lord started to take me out. And a lot of stuff happened in that 3 years. And at the end of the 3 years, the Lord said, go find your wife.
Wow.
And I had been looking at Peggy,
Yeah.
she was going out with some other guy. And once they broke up, boom.
You were in there, in Lake Flynn.
I was in there.
So,
And that's 40 years ago.
I've got to ask you then, as part of your coming to Jesus and becoming a disciple of Jesus Christ, did you have to close your third eye?
I did the work in the sense of I renounced it.
Okay, gotcha.
I had a massage yesterday from a woman. She gave me a really good massage. But at the end of the thing, when I'm laying on my back, my eyes are closed, and she's like, rubbing my shoulders and stuff, and it's the end of the massage. So the last thing she did before she left the room, she touched my third eye.
Oh, wow.
And I said, when she left, I said, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke that. I renounce that. Nothing is going to get open.
Yeah.
I take all the hocus pocus nonsense out of here. By the blood of the Lamb, in the name of Jesus, I rebuke you. Go away. Something like that.
Right.
It's like, seriously, you're going to pull that one on me. And if I get her again, I will say something to her.
Oh, yeah.
I will say, please don't meditate over me. Please don't try to touch my third eye or any nonsense like that. And I'll tell her why.
Yeah. That's
so,
good.
yeah.
And really, ladies and gentlemen, we are not off topic at all with this, because this is about this.
It's all like this.
It's all together. It's a spiritual hierarchy. There is one name that's above every name.
Hallelujah.
That at the name of Jesus, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess, and that Jesus Christ is Lord. So before we wrap things up, I have to ask you, chariots of fire. The Bible talks about chariots of fire. Can you talk about these vehicles in Scripture?
Yeah.
Before we wrap things up.
It's actually in my very first book,
Yes.
Nephilim, which is published by Zondervan. It came out in 1999.
Wow.
So we know 2 Kings talks about Elisha, the prophet, and his servant, Gehazi. And they're surrounded by the Syrian army. They're all freaked out. So we're going to die. And Elisha goes, Lord, open Gehazi's eyes. I mean, I wish I had that kind of relation.
Yeah.
And so the Lord opens up Gehazi's eyes. And he goes out, and he comes back in, and he goes, oh my gosh, I saw the chariots of fire above the Syrian army. So Gehazi has nothing in his vernacular, nothing in his lexicon to call out what he's seeing. All he knows is fire, which is, torches and campfires and cooking fire. That's it. There are no incandescent light bulbs.
Not
Thank
at
you
all.
very much.
Yes.
And the mode of transportation, the fastest mode of transportation is a chariot. It's a vehicle.
Yeah.
A horse is one thing, but a chariot's a vehicle. So what does he say? I looked up and saw a chariot of fire. What do you think it is?
Yeah.
And this backs me up. It's like right there in the Bible, and these are the good guys.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you get all the naysayers. Well, why do angels need technology? Can't they just pop from one place to another? And I wrote about this years ago. I love when I do those imitations, those little voices.
No, I'm good. They're good.
So I wrote about this years ago and talked about it incessantly at conferences. So when Daniel prays, the angel is dispatched from the throne room. He shows up and he tries to get by the Prince of Persia, but he can't.
Enoch.
Why can't the angel just do an end run?
Yeah.
Why can't he just pop into where Daniel is? He can't do that. He's got to go get Mike and the boys.
Yes.
And Michael, the angel, comes and they fight. How do they fight? Well, we're not told how they fight. But in the book of Revelation, we know Michael fights and somehow they're defeated. Can they be wounded? In my opinion, yes, they can be wounded. They can't be killed, but they can be taken out of the battle for a period of time. So that angel goes through that gateway, through that portal, and finally winds up in Daniel. But he can't do an end run. That's my point.
Yeah.
He can't do an end run. There's technology give you one more example.
Yes, please.
I'm writing a book on this, by the way.
Good.
Yeah, secret technology in the Bible, supernatural technology in the Bible. So Adam and Eve are booted out of the garden, and the two cherubim are there guarding the east gate. Between the cherubim is a flaming sword.
Yeah, a flaming,
which turns every which way.
Yeah.
What's a flaming sword?
A lightsaber.
In 21st century vernacular.
Thank you for George Lucas.
Thank you, George Lucas.
Yes.
It's a flippin' lightsaber. And so, there's no technology in the Bible. Yes, there is. That's technology. Do I understand it? No, but it's technology. Yeah. One more.
Yes.
The New Jerusalem is 1,500 miles wide, 1,500 miles long, 1,500 miles high. That thing descends. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Power source.
What's the power source and what's the structural engineering that holds that thing together?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Technology, folks. Technology.
And revelation of the method. Think, ladies and gentlemen, of the movies where cities are mechanical transportation units. I know that I'm envisioning one right now, and it's the cities are machines. Where do you think they get the idea from? And I got to take just a couple more minutes and ask you then, because you mentioned portals, it made me think of CERN. Do you have a few minutes just to talk about some of the revelations?
I have another interview right at the top of the hour, so I got to go at least 5 minutes for the top. So we have time.
Okay.
I actually did a TikTok 1 minute explanation that went viral.
Okay.
Last time I checked, it had like 2.6 million hits on it.
Wow.
Something stupid. And why does CERN, and I've been to CERN, why does CERN have Shiva, the goddess Shiva,
of destruction,
dancing in the courtyard? Yeah. Why did CERN have what amounts to a total occult ceremony? The guy in the goat's head, the whole deal, doing his new age nonsense. Why did they do that? Why did the director of CERN, to the best of my knowledge, talk about, well, we might open up something and we might let something through, or something may go through it? Why would he say that? It's also built on what was the ruins of the Temple of Apollo.
Oh, is that right?
All that's matter of historical fact. I'm not making it up. And of course, the fact checkers, they wouldn't say my name, but YouTuber, said that there's all false. How do we know that? Who's checking the fact checkers? Why should we believe anything you people say about anything? Because you lie, and you do so incessantly. My research, everything I just said, I can back up. I had a conversation with Josh Beck about it. We talked about CERN. Why is Shiva out there? What is the Hadron Collider? Why was it built on the Temple of Apollo? Apparently they have to stop not excavation, but construction of the collider until they excavated the temple. Is that just a coincidence?
No.
That they're building it on the Temple of Apollo? You tell me.
That's just...
Oh, nothing to see here at all. Just shut up and keep moving and pay your taxes.
And it's just like cathedrals built on ley lines. So I'm going to have you back, because I think what they're doing is they're actually trying to, in connection with Project Bluebeam, try and stop the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. I think that's one of the game plans. But there you go. Let's leave it there. L.A.Marzulli, a delightful conversation. Thank you for joining.
Really fun, Michael. Thank you, sir.
Yes, God bless you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Be sure to go to LA's website. I'm going to put it on the screen. You got to get the books. And once you're done at LA's, make sure you get over to 5ampodcast.com and root around in there for some other great resources, conversations, and the like. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I'm Michael Clausen, and remember, it's 5 a.m. somewhere.